Other side of our studio, another fantastic guy. James Creedon, how are you, sir?
Very well, Mark.
Now, power, corruption and lies in Saudi Arabia. Clamped down to end all clampdowns. It's unprecedented stuff, isn't it?
It's extraordinary, and the headlines, some of them are rather, just straight down the line. This is an anti-corruption purge, etc. But then you have rather more colourful headlines. But I'll show you an array of them, Mark. That's what I'm.
We like an array. Go for it.
That's what I'm here to do. Saudi Arabia begins freezing bank accounts of corruption suspects. So there you go. That's kind of the straight down the line approach, right? Then you've got the talk of, this is the Washington Post, a royal purge. So you can see that the language gets somewhat more colourful depending on the headlines.
This makes it all more intriguing, doesn't it? It's kind of like,
Well, essentially it is that, right? I mean, we're not even having to do too much analysis, but it is that. Others mentioning, this is a New York Times headline today, Game of Thrones. Now, here,
Game of Thrones, great idea.
Here it gets more interesting, Game of Thobes. Thobe is actually the traditional gown that is worn by a prince or by just...
Thank you so much.
Prince or anyone at all.
Love
it. Say. Prince or... in any case, in the Saudi version of Game of Thobes, the 32-year-old Prince bin Salman shows that he is willing to throw the entire region into jeopardy to wear the royal gown. His actions have already all but destroyed the Gulf Cooperation Council. Yemen can no longer be referred to as a functioning state. Egypt is a ticking time bomb, and now Lebanon may erupt. There's a lot to worry about. Bearing in mind that comes from an Al Jazeera editorialist. Saudi Arabia, amongst a couple of other countries, wanted to shut down Al Jazeera for what they thought was political coverage on their Arabic network.
So that journalists might have an agenda.
It might, but perhaps. Okay. Now, interesting.
Or maybe an insight.
Interesting. We saw there, Lebanon may erupt. That was one line in that editorial. Look at this coverage in theexpress.co.uk. Now, there's a bit of Donald Trump Twitter caps lock stuff going on here. It's kind of screaming. It's not the most, what would you say, relaxed of tones. So that's to be taken into account.
The Daily Express often is quite alarmist.
That's right. France in chaos down here, which I haven't noticed today so far, to be honest.
I was stuck in a very long traffic.
Okay.
But I got out of it.
All right.
But it's hardly chaos, you know?
Okay. Chaos depending on where you are.
Yeah.
World War III warning. Saudi Arabia accused of forcing Lebanese Prime Minister to quit during Iran scrap. Now, that's perhaps there's better coverage of that in the French language daily L'Orient Le Jour, and they are talking about the hubris of power, and they do quite an interesting character analysis of Mohammed bin Salman, as he's referred to there. They're talking about his determination, his out of all measure, his intransigence. He tends towards despotism, they say, and there is a strong will to dominate the entire region and to transform his country. So they're saying, even though he's not yet actually monarch, that he's already started a social revolution. Of course, we've seen women being allowed to drive, etc., or at least that being put in motion. He is questioning the discourse of the religious establishment, and he's liquidating the political opposition within the royal family. So they go on to say that he has no intention to compromise, he does not want to share power and with anybody, and he wants to make Saudi Arabia into an autocracy.
He's liquidating people. Is that actually killing people, or is that journalistic license?
I think what they mean in that context, I would hope anyway, is removing their power.
Putting aside, okay.
That's right. So I suppose they're saying there he wants to create an autocracy. You could say Saudi Arabia already was one, but he wants to modernise it, but in an autocratic way. I think that seems to be the reading that's coming through. Now, lots of mention too of the Saudi Prince Mansour bin Mukhin, who died in a helicopter crash in the Asir province along with eight other people on board. The timing of that has escaped nobody, and you have sub-headlines here, for example, on the ABC News website. Death comes amid royal family power play. On social media, less careful language, as you could imagine. You have people being altogether sarcastic about the timing of that. I'm sure this was totally just an accident, nothing to do with the supposed crackdown on corruption. So quite a degree of sarcasm about the timing there. Of course, we don't know the facts yet, and it's better to let them be established. Saudi coup is a hashtag on social media that's been used quite a bit. And we also have this tweet, which I thought was worth mentioning, by Vali Nasser. He's the dean at the Johns Hopkins SAIS Public Affairs School. Saudi Arabia is becoming a modernising autocratic monarchy like the Shahs in Iran. The irony is that Iran would be confronting its own past. That's packing a lot into 140 characters, I think you'll agree.
It is.
Do we have time to unpack it? Maybe not. But
maybe not. Only if you do it really, really quickly.
All right. I don't think we have. Anyway, people can chew on that. And finally, the orb. The orb is back, Mark. The orb has appeared on Twitter comments relating to this. This was during Donald Trump's trip to Saudi a couple of months back, where there was this odd moment that was be interpreted and reinterpreted in all sorts of fun, esoteric manners. And so there you go, the orb is back.
Not being disrespectful, but that is a very strange image, isn't it?
It is. It all goes back to the orb. Probably not, though.
James Creedon, as ever, thank you very much indeed. With or without the orb, great to see you.